This video is brought to you by MoviePalette.com. Hey everyone, do you have a favorite movie that you would love to hang on your wall but you can't think of what scene or what poster to get? Well, now you can get the entire movie on one high quality canvas. With MoviePalette.com, you can get every scene from your favorite movie, or more specifically, the dominant color of every scene from your favorite movie in chronological order on a great high quality canvas. It also comes with a silver engraving of the title down at the bottom. Has rubber stoppers on the back to keep it from bouncing. And they have a huge catalog of what to choose from. Whether you're a horror fan, or a fan of sci-fi, Marvel, Japanese anime, Disney animation, drama, or Oscar classics, there's a movie palette for you. And right now, MoviePalette.com is having a sale for 50% off for their Halloween sale. But if you go right now, and if you enter room 15, you'll get 15% off of the movie palette of your choice. That's ROOM15 for 15% off of your movie palette. Again, this is a great value for a great piece of home decor that looks great for any film and for any film buff and anywhere in your home. You will definitely like this product. Mine is of The Shining, and I could not be happier with it. So definitely go to MoviePalette.com and enter ROOM15 for 15% off of your palette. Alright, horror fans, here we are. Welcome back to Room 237, and this is going to be the last anthology that I'll be doing for the month of October. At the time you'll be seeing this, it's October 29th. I still have a couple more Stephen King things that I want to get to, and I figured this would be the perfect anthology to end the month of October on, just because of how much is in this. I mean, I think the idea behind this was to be the anthology to end all anthologies. And I got, the best part about this movie is the ambition. The ambition and idea behind it, I totally commend. The shorts themselves and the execution of the movie itself, that's a different story. But this is not one I own. This is another one that I saw on Hulu. There is a sequel to it, but I figured I'll save the sequel for next year. Maybe that'll be the season finale for the end of October next year. And I did not know there was a third film as well, so maybe that'll be 2 years from now. Who knows? We'll see. But it is for the I don't know what year this came out. 2012 comedy horror anthology, because I was thinking there's a lot of comedy in this, and some of them are just flat out comedic, which I will say those are some of the worst ones, which I'll get to. But the ABCs of Death. Now, when I first heard of this, for some reason I just kept thinking VHS, it's just another modern day anthology. I did not know how big this movie was as far as scope when I first saw it, because the whole idea is this was an internationally made film with different production companies and different directors from all over the world, 26 different directors, to create 26 shorts, one for each letter of the alphabet. Now, I knew there was an ABCs of Death 2, so I thought maybe they did like A through D in the first one, then like E through G or H in the second, and maybe they just never finished it. Because in my mind, I'm still thinking anthologies, 3 to 5 stories, 10 to 15 minutes each. There's no way they can fit 26 stories that amount of time. And they don't. These are all more just short ideas or vignettes rather than short stories. But yeah, they do A through Z in both of these, actually. I still haven't seen 2, but... So, the ambition, great idea. Filmmakers from all over the world, give them a letter, see what death they come up with. Now, at first, even when I knew, okay, they're not just doing partial alphabet here, they're doing the entire fucking thing. I kept thinking it was going to be more of like a Faces of Death, not in terms of extremity or it being real or not, but each letter being a real death. You know, like A is for accident, B is for burning, C is for choking or chainsaw, D is for drowning. You know, that's where I thought it was going to be more realistic, you know, real ways that people can die. And one disappointment I have is that the letters are very loose on their connection to the story. Like B is for Bigfoot. Bigfoot is nowhere in the story. It's just because someone tells a story about Bigfoot. In fact, I think it's the abominable snowman that they tell the story of. So some of them are just very loose in their connection to the story, which I was disappointed by. I definitely would have given more points if each letter was like an actual cause of death. And no. And also, some of these are very grounded and realistic. Like, one of my favorite ones was G. One of my favorite ones was M. I know a lot of people don't like M, but it was short and sweet. The the word made sense. The the visuals made sense for that word, for that letter. It made sense to me, and it was short and to the point. And then some of these are just so wildly imaginative that either they don't make sense or it's just not my kind of thing. So this movie is very hit and miss for me. Now, the only way to really talk about it would just to go through each segment. And that was really why I was putting off doing this review, because I saw this sometime last week and I was just like, Jesus, do I really just want to go through all 26 segments? But then again, some of them are just very short. Some of them are like 1 minute or so, or 2 minutes. They're very, very short. Because the movie itself is 2 hours and 4 minutes, or 2 hours and 9 minutes, I think it said on Hulu. So you got to fit 26 ideas in 2 hours. And yes, some of them are clever. You know, it has everything from horror to comedy to animation, claymation. There's at least two meta stories. But anyway, so yeah, each director that was signed on to it was given a letter. And actually, a contest was held for the 26th director, and the winner was Lee Hardcastle from the UK, and he gave claymation for T, which is for toilet. That was one I liked because the way it played out actually was pretty funny, and I'm a sucker for claymation and stop motion, but I'll get to that. Sheila Kearns. Apparently, after showing the film to a group of high school Spanish students, okay, I did hear about this. Former substitute teacher Sheila Kearns was found guilty 4 counts of disseminating matter harmful to juveniles. Now, I'm not sure what she was showing this for, but she got 90 days in jail and 3 years probation, so wow. So yeah, the wraparound I do like. I mean, this is one of those super straightforward, short and sweet wraparounds that I actually enjoyed. Which is, we just see this house, all these different rooms, as blood flows down the hallway, starts filling up the house. And in between each segment is just this overhead view of blood with these children's building blocks surfacing up to say letter is for title, and then we get actual text saying directed by. And I do like how most of the segments will have something red so it will fade back into that blood. Honestly, that might be the best part of the movie, is just how it links them all together. Blood, block letters, short and sweet. A is for Apocalypse, and that was directed by Nacho Vigalondo, which I don't think I. Okay, he did Puka, but I could have swore he did because I just clicked on his name recently. Well, I guess it was nothing else. Oh, he did Parallel Monsters for VHS Viral, and this one is about a woman who stabs her dying husband, saying that poisoning didn't take long enough. She tried poisoning him for a year, didn't work, so she stabbed him. And you find out it's because there's apocalypse outside. She didn't want him to live through it. Okay. B is for Bigfoot. That's when there's this teen couple, her babysitters are babysitters. This young girl won't sleep. They tell the story of this abominable snowman who will come and kill her or get her if she doesn't sleep. They tell her the story, and then this garbage man is going around picking trash. They knock on their door. He's got some surgical, looks like a pizza cutter, but more surgical. Kills them. The babysitters then leaves. Yeah, B is for Bigfoot. Some of these are a cheat. C is for Cycle, directed by Ernesto Diaz Espinoza, who I don't know what else he's directed. Nothing I've seen. This is just about a guy who keeps going through these time loops. It's pretty much a time loop. Like, he looks through a bush, crawls through it, then he's back on the other side, crawls through it again. Which, okay. A lot of these I forgot because they're so short and there's not much to them. But that's basically the idea. This guy ends up going through this endless cycle. D is for Dogfight. Now, I know a lot of people didn't like this one because of the content. I really liked it because of how it was shot, the revelation at the end. It was directed by Marcel Sarmiento, who also did a segment for VHS Viral. This guy shows up for a boxing match, and there's this big tattooed guy who's kind of the ring master. The dude's ready to fight, and they bring in this dog, like this Labrador. And the way it's shot, it's convincing. I mean, it's all done in slow motion, and it doesn't look like he's connecting with the dog, but I bet it was done in a way that he's just like pushing his face, not actually hitting him. But it looks convincing, and that's the point. And I mean, him and the dog are just going at it, and then finally, the dog has him pinned. The guy says, "Buddy." They both look at each other. Dude stands up. He's wearing dog tags that say, "Buddy." We see all these lost posters for Buddy. Find out that was his dog. He's the owner. He was dog napped some time ago, thrown into the world of dog fighting, and they both turn on the leader, and they mess him up. Really like how it was filmed. Very dramatic. No, I don't think he was actually punching the dog in real life. That's called movie magic. How they made it convincing. And it's not gratuitous. I mean, it's all slow motion for effect. I thought that one was well done. E is for Exterminate. This one was directed by Angela Bettis, who I like as an actress. She was in season 5 of Dexter, played Carrie in the 2002 TV movie. She was in this movie called Scar. She was in the remake of Toolbox Murders. She usually plays these troubled characters. But, this is the one where the guy tries to kill the spider. And the spider looks like, Tobey Maguire spider, like CGI. He tries to kill it, and then it bites him, and then we see from the spider's vision, he watches this guy for like a week. He finally kills it, and then out of nowhere, spiders start crawling out of him. Oh, he has these earaches, so then finally CGI spiders just come crawling out. even though this came out before the Scary Stories movie, I think it was done better in that. It was done in the illustrations of Scary Movie. Not a bad story. That was one I liked just because it was short, sweet. They're all short, but this one was sweet. This one I hated. This one was probably my least favorite. F is for Fart, done by Noboru Iguchi, who he's mostly known for adult videos. Zombie Ass, Dead Sushi. Alright, yeah. This one is about a girl who's this schoolgirl who's obsessed with her teacher. She farts, her teacher hears it, and we get narration and wondering if she ever farts. Does anyone ever hear her fart? Does it stink? And then, there's some warfare. Like a bomb is dropped. Everyone's got to run for cover. Everyone's dying from the gas. And she tells her teacher, if I'm going to die of gas, I'd rather be your gas. Teacher pulls her pants down, farts in front of her face, CGI smoke. And this one is done, yes, for humor. No, I don't find it funny. And yeah, she's kneeling in the yellow CGI smoke. He's like, oh, it's so good. So stinky. And then she even turns into vapor and gets sucked into the teacher's ass, where she's in this fetal position. Even the teacher's in there with her. It's like, now we can fart forever. It's fucking stupid. I hated it. I know this movie's supposed to be funny to a certain extent, but this was just so over the top and fucking stupid. I hated it. I hated this short. G's for Gravity was one of my favorites as well. I know people didn't like this one either. Directed by Andrew Trauke. It's a POV shot, not found footage, but POV of this guy. Opens up his trunk. He's filling a backpack with bricks and rocks. Takes a surfboard, paddles his way out. And he's sitting on the surfboard. And then we just see, he's underwater. He's there. And then the camera itself just goes up and we just see the surfboard just kind of stuck like this in the water. He pushed the backpack of rocks off. It dragged him down, and now he's holding the surfboard like he drowned himself. Now again, that one was a bit loose with the words. Kind of sad that one of the best usages of the letter, the word, and the actual short was F for fart. But yeah, I hated that. I mean, if they had just gone for just letters, ways of dying, D for drown, they could have used this. Yeah, it's suicide, but this one was short. I liked that it was POV but not found footage. No dialogue, so I'm always a sucker for that. I actually liked it. This one I didn't care for, even though I know a lot of people did like it. It is very imaginative, I'll give it that. H is for Hydroelectric Diffusion, directed by Thomas Malling, which, let's see what else, doesn't even say what else he's done. But, okay, these are anthropomorphic, well, I can't say that because they do have defining features. Animals. Imagine cartoon characters, but Looney Tune animals, but people and live action, or the best furry suits that you've ever seen, which I am not into at all. We have a bulldog going to a strip club during World War II. He's got the hat, the cigar, the bomber jacket. The stripper's a fox, quite literally. Yeah, we see fox tits. She's kind of a Ilsa SS lady, and at first, there were a few shorts in this where I was like, is this directed by Robert Rodriguez? And actually, one of the best parts of this movie is trying to guess what the letter stands for, because it doesn't say it until after. So the whole time I was thinking what the hell does this, how does H tie into this? So it kind of became a fun guessing game of okay, what's the word going to be for this letter based on what I'm watching. But there were a few that I was watching. I was like, are these? Is this directed by Robert Rodriguez? Because this one opened up. It does have a very Sin City type look. But yeah, I mean, the fox like kicks the bulldog guy in the balls. His balls come up and like out his mouth, kind of cartoon. Even his eyes do the cartoony thing when she's dancing. And when his balls come up out through his throat, out his mouth, she takes him, ties him around this thing, so he's stuck there. There's electricity. I don't remember the rest of it. I know people like it for its imagination, and I didn't care for it. Uh, I is for Ingrown, done by Jorge Michael Grau. There wasn't enough in this to judge. A man has his wife bound and gagged in the bathtub. She struggles. He injects her with motor oil. And she just starts scratching herself violently. And then she pukes. And then there's Spanish voiceover saying how husband's abuse makes him primal and not any more of a man. I don't know what ingrown has to do with that. Maybe I missed something. Now, J, this is another time where it feels like a cheat. J is for Jidai Geki, if I pronounce that correctly. Samurai movie, which if this was a YouTube comment, samurai movie. These are parentheses. But yeah, so they take the Japanese word for samurai movie because it begins with a J. But it's directed by Yudai Yamaguchi, which of all the Japanese ones, which are really the ones that really have humor mixed in with it, this was probably the better of the Japanese ones. I don't recognize anything else he's done. Where this guy's supposed to be executed by this samurai, sword. He's going to be beheaded. But every time, just as the guy's about to bring the sword down, he doesn't just make a silly face to distract him. This is like a Brian Usna a society like morphed face. It does look fake, yes, but it is body horror comedy over the top. Like instead of just like it's like long and stretched out, or like his whole face is scrunched down this tiny. It's pretty crazy, and yeah, he keeps. It's the over the top nature of making a silly face, so this guy gets distracted. But the faces are wild and cartoonishly distorted. K is for Klutz. This one is very crude animation, and this is one that I only forgive just because it's a cartoon, but first we see this woman struggle to shit in a public bathroom. She has a little tiny poop, and K is for Klutz, but it won't flush, and then somehow it flies out of the toilet, and there's all these different ways of her trying to get it back in the toilet, but it keeps rolling out. And since it's a cartoon, like I don't find toilet humor funny at all, but when I see it in South Park, I laugh. Cartoons can get away with more stuff, like for me at least. And this one wasn't one of my favorites. Another animation one, T for toilet. They're both toilets. That one I liked a lot more. L is for libido. This one was one of my favorites because, well, directed by Timo Giajanto, if I pronounce that correctly, which he directed. Okay, this was the first time director for him. VHS 2, VHS 94. Okay. So this guy wakes up and he's strapped to a chair in his underwear next to this other guy. And there's like these eyes wide shut watching. And this woman comes in She strips. He notices the guy next to him is masturbating, and he realizes it's a contest. Now, we don't see anything, but it's all implied. Whoever finishes first between the two wins. The loser, this female host, walks over, pushes a button, and the spiky rod goes up through the chair, into his ass, out his mouth, killing him. So this guy wins all these rounds, like 13, 14 rounds, and with each round it gets more messed up, more fetishistic. Like at one point, this woman comes up, pulls her prosthetic leg off, so you see her stump as she starts sucking on the toes of the prosthetic foot. The reason why I liked it is because, one, is very well shot. The way it's shot is reminiscent of like Sallow. Does have this Kubrickian look to it. But also, this shows how subtlety and implication can be more offensive and disturbing than actually seeing it. Take the family reunion portion of a Serbian film, which the director of a Serbian film has a bit in this too. You know, where it's the father, the son, all that stuff going on in a Serbian film, how you see it. If you see it, it's shock value, and it doesn't have any substance to it. Here, for the final round, we see a young boy being led in. He gets up on the bed, lays down, and then this fat, greebly fuck walks in. And I'm literally sitting there like they're not going to do that. And then it's just the reaction of all the people watching, and they're entertained. The reaction of our lead, who's horrified. The reaction of his competitor, who looks like a child molester, and he's like, oh, yeah. He's all happy about it. And then just shots where it's like the railing of the bedpost with the guy's hand gripping it on the bed shake. Stuff like that. It's all implied in reactions. That makes it more effective and disturbing than actually seeing it. It was more effective. And then it just ends with I think the woman somehow gets too close. Oh, because the child molester, the creepy looking guy finishes first, I think. It ends with the host lady being penetrated by the spike in the chair as well. And then the guy wakes up. He wakes up in a bed. He thinks his woman's making love to him, but she takes out a chainsaw, and he's part of the next competition. So yeah, I liked it because of how it pulled off the disturbing content. It shot very well, not really any dialogue, but the way it handled the disturbing stuff was actually effective and not just shock value. M is for Miscarriage, directed by Ty West. Of course, X, Pearl, Innkeepers, House of the Devil, director I really like. Now, this is another trigger one, I should have said that for libido, where it's just this POV of inside of a toilet. This woman trying to flush it, won't work. She grabs the plunger, that won't work. She keeps trying to flush this toilet. It's the POV. We see her just walk out, still shot, walk out, go to the room, grab a plunger, go back in. Won't go through. We see the contents of the toilet, red water, all this mush. We see M is for Miscarriage. I only liked it because it made sense. You know, M, miscarriage, that's what was in the toilet. Short enough where that's what it is. So, I liked the more to the point ones, I guess. N is for Nuptials, directed by Banjong Pissen Thanikun. Forgive me for that name if I pronounce it. This was a comedy one that I liked. A guy is going to propose to his girlfriend, so he buys this parrot, and he's trained the parrot to say, like, I love you, Sally, or whatever her name is. You know, I love you, will you marry me? Train the bird to, you know, take the ring out of the box and give it to her. She says yes, everything's happy, but then the bird starts repeating stuff from when the guy was cheating on her. You know, like, oh, Sean, are you sure we won't get caught? Oh, Sean, that's so big. Oh, Sean, you're so good. And then the bird just starts doing that, till the wife to be gets so pissed that she kills him. It's a one joke segment, but I thought it was funny. I thought it worked. And it was really by this point where I was like, okay, so this really isn't the ABCs of death. The ABC, the alphabet, the letter is not really the word for the alphabet is not how someone dies. It's just a word that pertains to the story somehow. O is for orgasm is one of my favorites as well because it was directed by uh, Helena Helena Cotet and Bruno Forzani, husband-wife duo from France. They they've done these giallo-inspired films, super artsy, and I love the hell out of them. Amer and Strange Color Your Body's Tears. I know a lot of people didn't like this just because it's all visuals, it's artsy. People don't like artsy stuff because Michael Bay rules, I guess, or something stupid. People don't like artsy stuff, but this really is. It's actually from Belgium, but French Belgium. It's a man and a woman. They're having sex, and there's just a series of close-ups. You know, with like a leather strap around the neck, or hands pulling the strap, or the big a bubble with like a cigarette going to pop it, or like the cigarette burning, blindfolds of the eyes, and with the black background with like typical with like Strange Color Your Body's Tears, the red, blue, and green lighting, or like the distortion, so it looks like everything's doubled. I love the look and style that they have, that they put in their films, so I really bought into it. And there's no audio save for like when he puts the belt around her neck to kill her for her last orgasm. You just hear like the stretching of the leather. That's really the only audio, or like the burning of the cigarette, or like the of the bubble when it finally pops in extreme slow motion. Definitely the most artistic, most artsy. I loved it. It might actually be my favorite one because I love their style so much. P is for pressure. This is another trigger one, but I like the message that they were going for. Basically, a prostitute who's trying to take care of her 3 kids, and her good-for-nothing boyfriend steals all her money, so she gets into prostitution, and it's just how she has to do worse and worse stuff to make enough money to feed and give her kids what they need. Eventually leading to this fetish type photo shoot where she has to stomp on kittens. Now it doesn't show anything, but again with sound effects and angles and reactions, it's implied. And I liked this just because I got the arc, I got what they were trying to say. I don't really sympathize with prostitutes very much, but this was one that actually kind of made me sympathize with her plight a bit. So, I give it credit for that. K is for quack. This is one of the two meta ones that I actually thought was clever. This is by Adam Wingard and Simon Barrett. Of course, they've done a bunch together. You're Next, Blair Witch 2016, The Guest, Death Note, Godzilla vs. Kong. They did bits on the VHS films. Q is for quack, and the joke, the meta joke is that they're playing themselves trying to come up with a letter for Q and how hard it is to come up with Q. So they decide, well, why don't we actually kill an animal? No, it's ABCs of death. No one cares about animals. Let's kill an animal. So they decide to get a duck for quack. They're out in the desert. They're going to shoot it, but they can't figure out how to get their guns won't fire properly. They end up shooting themselves. The context of the meta worked enough for me to be okay. That's kind of clever, and yeah, Q does suck to try to come up with words. They're definitely going for like a finale to Seven type look with the desert. That was one that I liked. R's for removed. This was done by Sir Dan Spasajevic. Am I pronouncing that correctly? This is the guy who did a Serbian film. Takes place in Serbia. This one looks really cool. Has really cool visuals, but unfortunately, this suffers from one of the issues of the film, which is these segments are so short that if you have a real intricate or metaphorical idea, you can't expand upon it. You can't really delve into it. So it really just comes across as abstract weirdness for the sake of being weird. But we see this guy who keeps having surgeries. You know, his back is all red and scarred from constantly getting skin removed. We never see his face. And his skin can produce film somehow, like it shows them putting skin strips into this acid. They take it out as film. They dress him up like a cowboy. He's covered in bandages. People love us. They put him like this Andre Chikatilo cage. People swarm him and like lick the bars, and they take photos. But his skin starts to produce less and less. They have to find new areas to take skin off. And one day he just fights back. He grabs the acid, kills a guy. He's able to kill all these people. He's like super strong. He's almost like Marv from Sin City. And after he kills everyone, there's just this shot from under a train as he pushes the car into a hangar. Then he collapses and it rains CGI blood. Not sure what they're trying to say. It might have something to do with like a celluloid or something. This is one where, yeah, the short, to the point vignette doesn't work. It should have been longer, been able to expand upon it more. Normally, I don't say that. S is for Speed, directed by Jake West. This was one I didn't care for, just because I'm not an action guy. I get the metaphor. S is for Speed. It's like a Robert Rodriguez film. Out in the desert, the hangar, there's explosions, gunfire. Just, it's like a Michael Bay meets Robert Rodriguez. This one chick is trying to drag another one to a car. She's like, I've been trying to get you for a year. You get where it's going. After all this chaos, high speed down the desert, we cut to the real world where she's using speed. So, she feels or sees this when she's using, and it's the metaphor for speed. I liked the metaphor, but I didn't care for the action setting or execution. T is for Toilet by Lee Hardcastle. This is the claymation one, very crude claymation, where it's these parents trying to potty train their young son. They just threw away the trainer potty. He has a fear of the toilet, and at first we see because the toilet like grows, it grows like teeth, and like eats the parents, and very bloody. And I love how crude and not professional it looks. It gives it charm and character. Then the kid wakes up, it's a nightmare, and decides he's going to try to conquer his fear on his own. So he goes into the bathroom. Dad hears him. He's like, honey, he's going to do it. He's going to do it. So he goes in, uses the toilet successfully, goes to flush, kind of be like, I beat you. But he slips, lands on the rim, seat falls on his head, he gets stuck. The dad comes in, sees him, laughs. And then, like in his nightmare, the thing about the toilet, the screws start coming out on its own. The thing falls, it lands right on the kid's head, squashes it, blood goes everywhere, covers the dad in blood, just ends with a shocked look on his face. I've always been a fan of not just claymation or crude claymation, but also when they just abuse the characters. Like when I was a kid, I was a big fan of Mr. Bill, so this kind of reminded me of that. And I thought it was a funnier way to have toilet humor. I mean, it's not about the poop, it's about toilets. So, which is why I hated fart Klutz was okay, but I didn't really care for it. Toilet, I did like, though. U is for Unearthed, one of my favorites as well. Directed by Ben Wheatley, who did movies I like uh, In the Earth, which I liked. I did not see his other films like Down Terrace, Kill List, uh, High Rise. I've heard Rebecca is good, but I didn't see it. I guess he's gonna direct Meg 2, The Trench, but I really like his more artsy films like In the Earth. I really enjoyed, and this I loved. Definitely my second or third favorite, where it has this look like Blair Witch, but not gritty or grainy found footage. It's POV, but not found footage, like just POV of what appears to be either someone possessed or a vampire. Both make sense. Out in the woods, just lit by torches or fire, so you get this great orange glow on the trees and the darkness. You get like these locals and a priest. The priest is throwing holy water. And it's basically the POV of this execution of this vampire. At first, I thought it was a possessed person, but then we see like someone take the stake, stab it into him, hammer it in. And I thought it was a great idea. Okay, it's POV, but of the monster. It was kind of like the zombie found footage from VHS 2. But I like how it was done, especially at the end when they decapitate the vampire. Like we see just under the camera, someone's like going like this, and then we just see like so it looks like someone's holding the camera like this, but it's their head. You see like all the skin and everything like stretch as he pulls the head from the body. You know, really believable POV, but very atmospheric, done very well. The sounds of the vampire and or demon I really liked. This was another very short and sweet. So this was definitely my second or third favorite. V for Vagitus or Vagitus. This was another one I didn't care for, by Carrie Andrews. It takes place in 2035 where women are infertile and you can gain your fertility back through like applications of the government or whatever. You're not allowed to have kids, and basically they go around, it's like this futuristic SWAT. They go around taking contraband, which I guess is kids, and or they hunt for mentals, which they come across this family. They try to take the kid away, or this baby, but the baby has telekinesis. There's this giant robot that's part of their SWAT team. It's this big action flick, which again, action sci-fi I don't care for. I actually found this kind of boring and uninteresting. But they kill the baby, but the head is still alive. And that family was psychic. And I think it makes everything go nuts. And yeah, this was one that it needed more time to delve into its themes and ideas. But yeah, this probably would have been a movie that I'd watch anyway, even if it was extended. I didn't care for that. W is for WTF, done by John Schnepp. This is the other meta one where they can't decide what to do for W. And so it was really just these guys being like, well, what about Walrus or Warrior? Or coming up with all these ideas, and then it just looks like just some crazy YouTube collage with ideas on top of ideas on top of ideas. It looks like cutouts, looks like animation, and it kind of like a YouTube poop video. I didn't care for it. X is for XXL. This was from France. This one I don't really remember. This one's done by Xavier Gens. Wait, what did I see from him recently? I did see The Divide, and I liked that. Hitman, I did. Frontiers, I did like. Some woman, some obese woman, uh, she imagines herself being thin. This was one I didn't really remember. I was like falling asleep by this point because by 26 it gets kind of, even though they're all different, it gets kind of repetitive. But she gorges on food, tired of being fat, cuts some of the fat off her body, and leaves the bathroom looking kind of like a skeleton. Which, okay, cool visual, but Y is for Young Buck by Jason Eisner. This one had a cool idea where it goes back and forth between this hunting trip between this young boy, this older guy, and the young boy being in school on the basketball team, and the guy being a janitor. More trigger stuff. We see the boy get up to play basketball, and the janitor like sniffs and licks the bleacher. The kid keeps looking over at him. And we find out through strong implications that the janitor took this boy on a hunting trip out in the woods. We even get that kind of shot from like a comedy where we see like pull his pants down, and then the camera's like, his legs are like this on the ground. We see the boy through his legs. He molested this kid, and somehow the boy, wanting revenge and get cool visuals, brought this bloody deer head to school, and he like rams the antlers through the janitor and then puts the head on himself, and like cool sentiment, cool, I wouldn't really say a metaphor because it's kind of literal, but this was another that didn't really have dialogue, all visual, slow motion, a bit more artsy. I enjoyed that one. Finally, Z is for Zetsumetsu, or Extinction, done by Yoshihiro Nishimura, which I know he's been called the Tom Savini of Japan. Tokyo Gore Police, Vampire Girl versus Frankenstein Girl. This one was just another wild idea, kind of like the H one with the furries, but the guy's name is Dr. Strangelove. It's a Japanese version. He's got the Peter Sellers hair, glasses, way of talking, even like his arm. He's in a wheelchair. He's being shown positive aspects of American culture, how it relates to Japan. And it deals with people in Nazi hats, and there's a giant phallus. Naked people wearing bombs that say little boy. And then Strangelove stands up and shouts, "My emperor, it is standing," as his penis comes out of a thing of rice. I'm not explaining it well because I was falling asleep at this point, but it is just so wildly out there and bonkers, trying to be like strong tribute to Dr. Strangelove. I couldn't get into it. Not a very good short to end your big epic anthology on. So that's all of them. I could say the idea I truly commend. The ambition I really commend. 26 directors from all over the world. Here's your letter. Come up with a way to die. But I found most of them kind of disappointing because, a lot of them are too short to really get any kind of idea of what's going on. Unless it's something like M is for miscarriage or G is for gravity. Those were super short, very to the point, and I liked those ones. But a lot of the crazier ones feel like they're trying to pack so much in to just a couple minutes because they have to do 26 in 2 hours. Like Fart, I hated Fart. I think it was the only one I hated. I really didn't like Z, but like the H one with the furries, I didn't like. S is for Speed, I didn't care for. V for Vaginas, the other action. The real actiony ones I didn't care for. Some of the humor ones were okay. Klutz was borderline, but Toilet I really liked for the claymation. But my favorite ones was Always for Orgasm because I love the artistic style of that husband-wife duo. Um, U is for Unearthed because I love the POV of a vampire being executed. L is for Libido only because of how effectively it handled the shocking, disturbing content of that story. You know, it took something that was literally in a Serbian film and it showed how one can be very effective and one is just shock value. Really like Dogfight because of how well it was shot and the way it you, flips the story around and you're able to root for the guy that's fighting this dog. Some of them I just wish were longer so we could get more of what was going on. Like R is for Removed. Stuff like that. Like, I was like, really cool visuals, but if it was longer, they could expand upon it. But most of all, I wish this was kind of just more like a straightforward, not comedic, not supernatural, not wild, more Faces of Death, where it was like, A is for accident, B is for burning, C is for choking or chainsaw, or D is for drowning, whereas literally just a cause of death and then just a short skit built around that. If it was more straightforward, I think it would have been more fitting for ABCs of Death. But yeah, so this is very hit and miss, but I do give a lot of props for getting all these people from around the world to get in on this and really commit to it, even though a lot of them do feel like it's cheating. B is for Bigfoot, when the only Bigfoot thing in the story was just this bedtime story about the abominable snowman. A lot of them feel like it's cheating, which is another disappointment, but yeah, the stories range from just really stupid and unfunny in the worst way, like Fart, to really artistic and visual, and really what like a short vignette should be, like O is for Orgasm. But if we're talking comedy-wise, Fart was the worst, and I would say Toilet or Nuptials was the funniest. But yeah, I loved O is for Orgasm. U is for Unearthed, L is for Libido, D is for Dogfight, N is for Nuptials, M is for Miscarriage, again, just because of how short and simple it was. Same with G is for Gravity. Those were all the ones I really liked. And then you get the ones I hated, which I mentioned. And then the other ones are just, they're so short that they're just completely forgettable. And that's why I don't remember them. Whew, sorry this video was so long, but it kind of had to be. But that's ABCs of Death. And this is the last anthology that I'm doing for the month of October. Yes, I know there's ABCs of Death 2, but I'm going to save that for next October. I do have a couple more Stephen King films I want to get to. I have one movie planned for the day of Halloween, and then I can start November's marathon, which I'll probably reveal on that day. So, sorry it's been so long. I know a lot of people do like this movie, but it was hit and miss for me. But I hope you enjoyed this marathon, half marathon of anthology horror films. Hopefully you'll come back next year when I do more anthologies. I try to save them for October. But anyway, thank you for watching, and thank you for sticking through the marathon throughout the month.